Saluton! Sorry it's been so long since my last video. I wanted to talk tonight for a few minutes about Raymond Schwartz and talk about a couple of things of his that I've read recently in Esperanto. If you haven't seen my previous videos, what I'm going to be talking about throughout my series is different books that I've read in Esperanto, particularly ones that were originally composed in Esperanto. And so Raymond Schwartz, as I think I mentioned in one of my prior videos, is kind of has a reputation in the Esperanto community as being a humorous writer, and a lot of what he does has puns in it and humorous or risque themes, and that's certainly true with this book here that I read called Anni kaj Montmartre. I think that's how you say that in French. That's a French town or area outside of Paris. And the story follows a German girl named Annie who is, I guess, an orphan, if I remember correctly, and she works as a nanny for a really nasty lady, and for various reasons decides to run off to Paris with her boyfriend. And as fate would have it, they get separated when they stay out late at a bar one evening. And so she finds herself in Paris, a seedy part of Paris, can't speak French, doesn't have any money, doesn't have her papers, and is all by herself. So she gets wrapped up with a pimp and a local prostitute who try to kind of get her into the business in Paris, as it were. Unsuccessfully, I might add, not to give too much away of the plot. But it is kind of a humorous little take on this situation, and it's not quite as dreary as the description sounds, I suppose I should say. It is humorous. But that's actually perhaps one of my criticisms of the book. Maybe an unfair criticism, considering this was written in 1930, so maybe this was pretty risque for the time, but if that same plot was written today, it would have gone down way differently than it went down in this book. So to that I had a little bit of a hard time believing that's really kind of how the story would play out in actual fact. But besides that, it was an enjoyable read and pretty quick. As you can see, it's a pretty short novella, about 126 pages. I did do a Google search. I bought this on eBay through an auction. I had purchased a whole bunch of Esperanto books in one shot, and this just happened to be in the lot. I did do a quick search on the net, and it doesn't seem like it's really for sale in any of the big Esperanto books stores. So maybe you'll have a difficult time finding this particular book, but several of his other works are available online. I'll show you one of the magazines he was involved in publishing back in the day was called La Pirato. I have one of the issues here, also I found on eBay. And this is actually the first issue. And it's a humorous magazine, as you might expect, and one of the highlights of this magazine was a column that Schwartz would write every month. That, I know, you can get as a collection called Kun Sia Spezza Spizzo or something to that effect. I can't quite remember. But that's still widely available, as is his novel, which is very greatly praised in the community, called Chialacqua del Rivero, like water from the river, I think is how you would translate that. But I just want to finish up here just reading a little bit from the third book of his that I own. I've only read bits and pieces of this. It's a poetry collection, also by Raymond Schwartz, Vercata Testamento. Let me read, the poem I'll read is a humorous one called La Edza Devo. Fiancigis cun junino, maljununo, sestechiara, cae char lia trema corpo, ie volupto iam avara. Diris li alla knabino, vi comprenos estas clare, che plenumos ledzan devon mi nur ciun kvaron jare. Sed respondas jen naive la knabin de 10 jare. Diru, unu nocto havos, cium do ca do da kvaron jaroj. So that's kind of the sort of, if you understood that Esperanto, that's kind of the sort of punning, risque stuff that he writes about. And let me read you one more from this collection, because he also likes to satirize the Esperanto movement as well. So let me read you one of his poems that does that. Gives a little timeline of the typical Esperantists' conversion to Esperanto and his movement and his experience of the movement. So here's this one. It's called Esperantisto Ekesto kaj Malapero. Gazet articolo, au verba parolo, favora impresso, ec interesso, lerno libro, sancta vibro, propagando miasmo, entusiasmo, sam ideano, je viasano, camarado, varbado, instruo, in buton truo verda flago, glora tago, plua stupo, nova gruppo, nova sento facile vento, cae poemo pri sama temo. Postesito delegito, lau besono gazeta bono, cotisoi cae valisoi por congresso, miracle impresso, fraca vesto, bala festo, nazi costumo, amindumo. Hispanino, corinclino cae esperoi, amleteroi, mielo, cielo. Edzino, fino. Once again, Raymond Schwartz. Check him out if you're looking for a laugh in Esperanto. I recommend him.